Yo, 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 welcome to Proper Things, the FPL show brought to you by the TT FPL Pro-League, episode 33. Well, it's your boy Michael here again this week after an amazing weekend of English Premier League action. Of course, we had my boys, Manchester City, walking away with the 5-1 win. And then we had our title rivals in Liverpool and Arsenal both succumbing to their opponents 1-0 Crystal Palace for the Reds and Arsenal 2-0 down to Aston Villa. So it was a great week as we rose from third to first. So we back at top the summit, looking to go for the 4-peat or the beaver of championship trophies. So it was a great week in real life football, but not so good in fantasy. This last game week was a small red arrow, but a red arrow nonetheless. I know the Chelsea fans were happy after ice-cold performance from Cole Palmer on Monday night. A beaver trick of goals, 26 fantasy points. Amazing performance from the guy we let go. So without further ado, we move in quickly now into what is a double game week for all the managers out there. So this episode will be especially spicy. So we move in quickly into the review of game week 33. And game week 33 kicked off with Newcastle putting a beating on Spurs 4-0. Son not even making the 60 minutes, 1 point for the South Korean. Isak with a brace and Anthony Gordon starring with 17 fantasy points. Brentford defeated Sheffield United 2-0. No Tony, maybe he's in the doghouse, maybe he's not. We'll see in game week 34 what's the case there. 1-1 was the score between Burnley and Brighton. An absolute howler for Murich to give the Seagulls a 1-1 draw. Manchester City, of course, rolled over Luton 5-1. Brilliant performance by Doku and Vardiol. A goal and assist for Holland to cap off a 10-point performance from the majority captain. 2-2 was the score between Nottingham Forest and Wolves. Cunha with a brace. 2-2 between Bournemouth and United as well. Bruno Fernandes with a brace in that encounter. Crystal Palace again defeated Liverpool 1-0. Salah missing in another title run-up. Eze with the winner. 2-0 was the score between Fulham and West Ham United. Fulham getting 3 points. Again, Arsenal failed to win at the Emirates for the first time in 2024, going down 2-0 to Aston Villa. Watkins with a brilliant chip to finalize the 2-0 win. And then Chelsea put an absolute beating on Everton. Ice-cold Palmer making the money, especially Frosty with 4 goals. Jackson with a goal and 2 assists as Chelsea absolutely run riot. And that was the review of game week 33. And now with the reviews in the review mirror, we move it into the proper thing segment. And normally here on the proper thing segment, we have these different categories that give you all the picks that you'll need. But this week is especially spicy because again, this is a double game week where 7 teams have 2 fixtures. And I know when it comes to double game weeks, managers favor the players that have 2 fixtures. Even on the eye test, you always like to see 2 fixtures next to your players. So I know a lot of the moves will be catered towards getting players in from these teams. And again, the 7 teams that will be on doubles will be Arsenal and Liverpool. Those would be the 2 favored teams. Then we have Everton, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves, and of course, Sheffield United. So this episode or this game week will be especially catered to those players, again, who have the double game weeks. And we do any segment this way, giving you 2 keepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 strikers, and then a preferred starting 11 with 4 players on the bench. So that's how we do in the proper thing segment for this game week. Well, we're kicking things off with my 2 keeper selections, and my favorite keeper this week is Dean Henderson of Crystal Palace. And I know a lot of people saying, Wiz, it's best I cut off the video right now because they love Raya and they love Alisson. But we do know in FPL you could only have 3 players from each side. So that's a little precursor of what to come. I already have my allotment of 3 Arsenal and 3 Liverpool players. So for that sake, Dean Henderson is my favorite keeper of Crystal Palace this game week. Crystal Palace do play West Ham and Newcastle. We see in the form that Isak in, so a lot of people might be perturbed by Dean Henderson, but I think he's the best option outside of Raya and Alisson. And I do believe he could reward owners with at least one clean sheet, some save points, and maybe gets a bonus. So we're looking at a floor of maybe 6-7 points here for Dean Henderson. So he's my favorite keeper coming in to this double game week. And in a narrow second, it's Neto of Bournemouth. And Neto's fixtures on paper for me are a little less appealing. Of course, they play Aston Villa in Villa Park, and then they tackle Wolves at the Molineux. So 2 away games there for Neto. So that has, of course, Dean Henderson in the #1 spot for me. So my 2 keepers for those who are looking to bench boost would be Dean Henderson and Neto, especially if you have those 2 you can bench boost. So that rounds out the goalkeepers for the double game week 34. And now with the goalkeepers sorted, we're moving into the defenders picks for this double game week. I have 5 defenders here who I think are the best options. And coming in at #1, of course, you must have the Arsenal cover. And their best defender for the double game week is William Saliba. And I believe this simply because we know that Gabriel has been struggling to go to all the training sessions. And we know that Arsenal play Munich this Wednesday in the Champions League. Then they have the double. And then a freshly rested Spurs in game week 35. As Spurs don't have any games this game week. And the chances of Gabriel playing all those games, all those 4 games, especially with us knowing how he's struggling to make the training, is very unlikely. Same for Ben White, especially with Tomiyasu. There's cover on the right hand side, and Zinchenko and Kiwior could split the minutes on the left side. So William Saliba is my #1 defender. From Liverpool at #2, I know everyone will be looking at the surety of minutes from the captain Virgil van Dijk, but my defender pick here is Trent Alexander-Arnold, simply because of the explosion he could give on the attacking ends. And this is the time of the season that you're looking to take some swings, and I believe that those who are not free hitting, those who have planned ahead for the game week 34, or even those who are wildcarding, would look for the surety of minutes from Virgil van Dijk. So I am going Trent Alexander-Arnold as a mini differential here, simply again because of the difference he is in the attacking third. We are nearing the end stretch of the season, and Conor Bradley will be missing at least the next couple of weeks. We do know Gomez could come in there at the right back position to take minutes away from Trent, but I believe that he has at least 120 to 150 minutes in him for this double game week. So Trent has to be in your starting lineup. Now the next 3 positions in the defense are a little tricky, so I tend to spread them out from the other teams. My first pick would be Tyreek Mitchell of Crystal Palace, simply because the new manager seems to have helped Palace with their recent performances. We've seen a brilliant performance from Tyreek Mitchell versus Liverpool, so maybe he could continue the form versus West Ham and then into Newcastle. Closely behind him is Mekalenko of Everton. I do know people looking at that Merseyside derby as one of the fixtures and saying it have no clean sheets in that encounter, but the other fixture is against Nottingham Forest. And we also have to remember a lot of people will be leaning towards Pickford in goal, and my setup does not have Pickford, so we kind of have a spy there in the Everton defenders there in case someone wants to cover the double game week for the blue side of Merseyside. And my favorite third option behind Saliba and Trent would be Altnuri of Wolves, but we do know that there's an injury concerns with the Wolves, well, fullback / winger, as we've seen Altnuri's advanced position when he was fit in recent weeks. But he missed the game in game week 33 entirely as he was not in the squad, and we have to wait on an injury report from the gaffer to see if he will indeed return for the double game week. So the fact that he's still flagged and there's a cautionary sign around his availability, I can't put Altnuri higher up. And since my formation would be at 3-5-2 this game week, I would have to more decide who to play between Tyreek Mitchell and Mikalenko. But for the aggressive players, I would play Mikalenko. And for those who are looking to be a little safer, maybe Crystal Palace would be the double play for you. But that's my best 5 defender picks for this game week. Again, it's Saliba #1 and Trent from the 2 favored defenses, Tyreek Mitchell from Crystal Palace, Mikalenko, And then we have to mention Al-Nouri, but we have to keep an eye on his fitness going forward and his availability for Game 34. And now with the defenders done and dusted, we're moving into the midfielder picks for this game week. And the 5 midfielders will be highlighted by the 2 teams that managers have earmarked weeks ago as the teams that they need to have their allotment of 3 players. And of course, that's the Gunners and the Reds of Liverpool. So we have a 2x2 plus another midfielder. So we're kicking things off with the first Arsenal midfielder, that being Starboy Saka, the penalty taker for the Gunners. And I know recent performances has not lit up any Premier League scoreline from the Starboy, and he seems to be doing that little thing he does at the end of games, limping off to say that he was hurt, which as a signal to dampen his performances maybe. But with 2 fixtures on tap, against Wolves at the Molineux and then home versus Chelsea in a London derby, I do back the Starboy to get points even if it's from the penalty spot. So for that fact, Saka has to be in your double game week 34 team. Accompanying him is the guy who many say is a March Madness player. He's so hot in March that even the points came for when he was wearing the Chelsea shirt. But we're in April and the jury will have their final verdict this upcoming game week. And I'm speaking about Kai Havertz. Again, he has the same fixtures, Wolves and Chelsea. He has been playing the number 9 role up to game week 33 before Arteta moved him back into midfield. And that made the Arsenal or the Gunners lose 2-0 at home to Villa. So I expect him to go back to playing the centre forward role for Arsenal. And when he was playing there, that the points just came raining in. So I expect Havertz to go back there and the points to follow. So we'll have Saka and Kai Havertz from Arsenal. Moving across now to Liverpool, I know that there's a lot of talk now that the king of FPL cannot bring in the points when the run-in is for Liverpool and the title. He just seems to disappear when things get tough at the back end of the season and there's no Sadio Mane to bail Liverpool out again. I don't really think this is the case. I just thought that the ball would not go in for Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, and shout out to Crystal Palace for doing that job, that dirty work for getting Liverpool to drop points, and Dean Henderson had an amazing game as well. Now looking at the double, we do know that one of the games is a Merseyside derby with Everton and the other being against Fulham. And Salah is a guy who is locked in on pens, so he does not have to have an amazing game. All he has to do is get that penalty and the points could be on. I know a lot of players will be also favouring the armband on the Egyptian king this game week. So he has to be in your team for the double. Accompanying him is not Luis Diaz. It's my cheeky ball play this game week. It's Diego Jota. And I believe Jota is one of the best, if not the best, pure finisher in Liverpool. And with the state of affairs with Liverpool when it comes to them being in front of goal and the efficiency, I think Jota could sneakily or be the highest point getter for the Merseyside team. I expect him to start at least one of the 2 games, and with the amount of forwards they have, I think outside of Salah, it's very difficult to see who could get 2 starts, and I do favour Jota to get points off the bench as he's done for the majority of the season when he was fit. So he accompanies Salah in midfield as my Liverpool double up. And the 5th midfielder in my 3-5-2 formation is going to be Eze from Crystal Palace. I already planned to bring Eze in weeks ago, so he's already in my team and he will be unleashed this game week. We saw that he had a 10-point performance versus Liverpool, and I expect him to carry on that form versus West Ham and Newcastle. Honourable mention to Diaz from Sheffield United and Eze's teammate Olise, but I do believe Eze edges them out for the 5th spot in my 5-man midfield. So again, it's going to be the 2-2 Arsenal and Liverpool double up with Saka and Havertz, Salah and Jota, and then Eze rounding out my 5 midfielder picks for this double game week. And now with the midfielders sorted, we move it into the forward line. And this has to be the cheapest forward line that I've formed this entire season. I know there is normally a Haaland or Watkins in the forward line, but this game week, none of those players are selected simply because they have a single game week. And the first forward on my list of the three has to be Dom Solanke of Bournemouth, and he is the only outfielder from the Cherries making the lineup this week. Of course, Neto was his second keeper, named earlier on in the episode. And again, they do play Aston Villa away from home, well, at Villa Park, and then their second game is at the Molineux versus Wolves. But Dominic Solanke has been in scintillating form this season, and I expect him to get a couple returns in this double game week. I know the Villa game is going to be especially difficult, especially since Villa already won 2-0 versus Arsenal this last game week, and they're going to be in high spirits. But I do tip Dom Solanke to at least cause some trouble and maybe get a return. And don't forget, he's locked in on penalties for the Cherries. My second starting forward is going to be Cunha of Wolves. We already saw what he did in his full return for the team from Molineux, and he does have a tough game versus Arsenal in the first fixture, but then he comes up against Bournemouth. And Cunha is one of those guys who blows hot and cold, so you have to pick the moments when he's hot. And coming off a brace in his last game, I expect Cunha to continue the form and get a couple returns here. Does have 2 bites of the cherry, and I really like the look of Cunha, especially for his price. So he's going to help you fit in the Salah and the Saka, and in case you want to deviate from the picks I give, especially if you're looking to go big in budget, or even if you're not free hitting and you need to get a cheaper forward to keep the likes of maybe a Haaland, or maybe you want to stash Son for his double in Gameweek 35, Cunha will help you do that. So Cunha will be accompanying Solanke in my 3-5-2 formation as the second starting forward. And my third forward spot, since the Crystal Palace allotment is filled with Henderson, Tyreek Mitchell, and of course Eze, the Arsenal and Liverpool allotment is also filled, have to go now towards Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Everton. I know this is not really, as they say, a saucy pick or a spicy pick, but due to the slim options remaining, I think DCL is the best of the remaining bunch. He did not play in Gameweek 33, so that is a bit concerning. So we have to keep our eyes on that to see if he could make the team. But if he cannot, the alternative pick to this is a cheeky ball play in Ollie McBurney due to the restrictions of having 3 players from each team. So that concludes the forward line for double game week 34. And that concludes this special version of the Proper Things segment this game week. Again, we will be playing the 3-5-2 formation, and we will be having Dean Henderson in goal, the 3 defenders being Trent, Saliba, and Tyreek Mitchell. All 5 midfielders of Saka, Havertz, Jota, Salah, and Eze will be playing, accompanied by Cunha and of course Dominic Solanke. But for those who don't have a free hit, and those who can't wildcard, only have 1 or 2 free transfers this game week, and wondering who the best single game week players are, and saying, boy, no love for them at all, I have to sell. Of course, if you have Palmer and you can't free hit, you keep Palmer. I don't see any reason to sell the guy who is coming off a beaver trick in Game Week 33, and of course he has a double in Game Week 35. And a lot of people are on the fence with Son whether to shift, stick, or move, or what to do with Son. If you have the ability to stash him, play an 11 that has at least 8-9 double game weekers, I would also start Son. What to do with Haaland? Well, you have to keep your eyes on what happens at the Etihad versus Real Madrid, as you will have to wait until the following Thursday before Manchester City is in action, because of course they have FA Cup this upcoming game week. But the fixture that I would be keenly invested in if you have some single game week players is that Manchester United game this upcoming game week, because we do know that although they have 1 fixture, that fixture is going to be against Sheffield United the following Wednesday. We're seeing what that Bruno Fernandes has been returning at a rapid clip, a double and a goal in Game Week 32, and the double of course being in Game Week 33. Locked in on penalties, and United will have a double game week in 37. So just something for the single game week players there to keep in mind. I would keep Palmer, I would see if I could keep Son without, well, sacrificing too much. I'd also keep an eye out to see what happens with Haaland again. And of course, I'll keep an eye on that United single game week because I do love Bruno Fernandes. And that concludes the proper things segment for game week 34. I hope you all enjoy the picks. I hope you all understand the reasoning. I'd like to hear any and all input in the comment section, whether you agree, disagree, if you have alternative picks. Whether you like in the show, whether you like this format going forward rather than the old format with the needle movers and spilt milk, etc. And while you're there leaving your comment, you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I know every little bit helps, and I've been enjoying doing the videos. I hope you all enjoy listening to me, and I would appreciate the support. And thanks for all the support thus far so far, because we now going into episode 34, and that was something that was only a dream coming into the season. So thank you all for all that support. And now with the proper thing segment sorted, I know managers have one more dilemma, and that's who to put the armband on. Well, have no fear, Captaincy Corner is here. Here on Captaincy Corner, I give you the 5 best assets to put the armband on each and every game week. And this game week being a double game week, of course, the 5 best options are going to be players who have 2 games, as it's always easier on the eyes when you know you have those 2 fixtures next to your players, and everyone likes to have 2 bites of the cherry to get things right. And it's exceedingly difficult to pick that single game week player who always goes nuclear to get under the managers who targeted the double game week players. With that being said, the best captaincy option this game week, it's going to be Mo Salah from Liverpool. It's nothing too fancy, and I know the double game week 33 was very difficult for managers who captained Salah, as it was tough sledding for Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, but I do expect him to rebound in this double game week against Fulham and Everton, even if it's from a penalty kick with someone getting the foul within the box. You know, he's locked in on penalties, and he's always performed in the past, so I don't expect double game week 34 to be any different for the Egyptian King. He's your best captaincy option, your safest captaincy option, I should say, by far in game week 34. Coming in second, it's a guy who many say is a match madness player, as he absolutely reigns in the points, whether he was in blue or in red this season, and that's Kai Havertz. I think he goes back to playing centre forward for Arteta for the double game week, as we saw that the midfield experience did not work, and we know that Kai Havertz has been firing the points when playing the centre forward options. Of course, this comes at a heightened risk next to the Salah pick, as a lot of managers will be flocking towards the Egyptian King, but if you're looking for alternative from a different team, it has to be Kai Havertz coming in at number 2. Coming in at number 3, it's another guy who is going to come off injury and back into the team, and that's Diogo Jota. I do like Jota as a kind of differential / cheeky ball player at number 3. He's one of the most efficient players when it comes in front of goal. He's the second best attacking asset, whether it be from midfield or the forward line for Liverpool, and thus lands at number 3. Number 4 is a safe pick with a safe floor. Maybe he goes nuclear, but I have not liked his performances in the last few weeks, and that's Starboy Saka from Arsenal. He is on penalties, so he could expect points, and his high ownership, if he blanks, it wouldn't hurt as much, but I do prefer Salah over Saka by far, as well as Havertz, and while Jota being the cheeky ball / differential captain. And at 5, it's Eze from Crystal Palace. If you're looking to shy away from Arsenal or Liverpool and looking for something alternative as a captaincy option, it's going to be Eze. So that concludes the captaincy corner for this game week. I hope this helps settle any dilemma you may have. Again, I do believe Salah is the best double game week captain, and hopefully he rewards all his cappers with a lot of points. And now we move into the segment with the most banter in the group chat, with the most noise, especially this game week with Arsenal and Liverpool dropping points. I know there was a lot of pandemonium in the group. I'm speaking about the segment that's aptly called the race for the 10K. Here anyways for the 10K, I give you the latest update in the standings of the TT FPL Pro-League as managers look to bring in that 10K at the end of the season. As we look at the table, the top two remain the top two. Still number one is Sobos Lads from FPL Trini, 74-point game week, 21-35 on the season. Continuing his march towards the inaugural title here in the TT FPL Pro-League. In second position, it's his rival, Week 12, Andre Roberts, 67 points on the game week, 2,114 on the season. So Sobos Lads getting that 7-point advantage this game week to strengthen his leadership atop the table over Awake, who continues to keep the race up in the second position. At number 3, we see a guy now forcing his way into the conversation, trying to make this a triple threat for the top of the table. A big week from White Rice Party by Salim, 101 points, 2,086 points on the season. And let me just take a quick look at what Salim did here, and we could see that the differentials of Vardiol and Nicholas Jackson and Isaac proving the difference here and hitting pay dirt in 1 week as Salim exploded for the 101 points. In fourth and fifth, we have Midas Touch by Lorenzo dropping 1 to fourth with 2,068 points on the season. And right now the top 5, it's Sky Saw Redemption by Stefan with 85 points on the game week and 2,055 points on the season. 6 is Dr. Phil Foden by Capel. 7 is Everyone Loves a Fatty by Ryan. Lord of the Mings by Jordan. In 8, Red Explosion FC by Nunez. Mark Nunez, that is. And we seen Jordan and Mark Nunez moving up into the top 10 there with green arrows. Coilers FC unfortunately drops to 10. Coilers by David there. And I'll give a special mention to 11 with a small red arrow this week. Pelican Bay by my cousin Nick. So that rounds out the top contenders for the TT FPL Pro League standings thus far the end of game week 33. I know the race is going to tighten up with 5 more game weeks in total, especially with a double game week in hand this game week. Going to see other different strategies by those who still have chips, maybe a wild card, maybe a guy shake and bakes and ducks everything and looks to hit back in 35 or 36. So exciting times in TT FPL Pro League. Well, exciting times for the main contenders there, the top 10. And if we go down now, we see now a red arrow from the Legacy 10X, which is my team. You know, we were making strives to get up there in the high teens, but some big punches there from the Palmer captainers just sank us in this TT FPL Pro League, down now to 25th. Take a quick look at my team, 69 points on the game week. Nothing too fancy here as Captain Holland Palmer with 26 points just kept us afloat. Wish I had the hindsight now to play Eze or Senesi, as that would have boosted me up the rankings a little bit, but spilt milk here pays no bills. And this game week now, I will not be free hitting. I have no wildcard as I didn't make a transfer last game week, so I do have 2 free transfers this game week. Of course, I'm looking to move out Munez as he was on Spilt Milk last episode and he didn't really give me any confidence going forward into a single game week. So he'll be moved on, most likely to Cunha this game week. And Son will be moved on as well this game week. I'm looking at Jota as the guy to bring in. So most likely it's going to be Jota and Cunha. However, if I have that inkling there to move Cunha and change it up to Solanke, I will also do that. But the plan is to just do Jota, because if I do Solanke, then if I want Son back for his double in 35, I'll have to take a -4. So all that will be in the planning for the transfers this week to make sure that I don't have to take too many hits down the line. I'll still have my free hit in my back pocket as well as my bench boost, so things aren't as bleak as it seems there when it comes to rising up the table. So I will have 2 chips for the remaining 4 weeks, 35, 36, 37, 38. So hopefully we could make some punches this game week. Of course, Eze and Senesi are going to come into the starting lineup this game week, as well as Neto. And with Cunha and of course Jota coming in, I will have my fair allotment of 10 double game week players, and maybe Erling Haaland get something there versus Brighton. So that's the planning for game week 34 when it comes to my team. And that concludes this episode of Proper Things. I hope you all had a great time listening to me for this episode, because I had a great time delivering all the content. As always, I appreciate all the support, and I would like to hear from you all in the comment section whether you all digging the new style of the Proper Things segment, whether you all agree with the picks or not. You have alternative ideas on what you want to do with the captaincy. While you're there leaving your thoughts, you could like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate the subscription as you're trying to get the subscribers up. And with that being said, all the best, not only for this week in the FPL, but for all the teams playing in Champions League tomorrow. I'm speaking about Arsenal and, of course, my fellow Sky Blue Army members. Hopefully, we can get the W to advance to the semi-finals. And as always, don't forget to do proper things in all walks of life. I'll see you all next week after the double. And good luck.